Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Furr, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glow Cloud team.
Hey Mike, your audio is not on.
Well, I guess sometimes we all leave the mute button on. In any case, I'm Michael Gibbs and welcome to our channel. And I come to you once per week on YouTube for the sole purpose of helping you build an elite cloud computing career. People reach out to me every single day and they say, Mike, help me get to my goals. And I want to make sure every one of you gets to your goals. Whether you desire to be a cloud architect or a solutions architect or an enterprise architect, whether you want to become a cloud engineer, whether you want to become a network engineer, network architect. That's why I'm here, to help you build your cloud computing career. I've been in technology now for almost 30 years, and I've spent more than 2 decades helping people just like you get their first technology job, get promoted in tech, get a $100,000 raise, or anything necessary to advance in their career. And that's why I'm here, to make sure you have your best and most elite technology career. So come ask your questions. I do this for the following reason. If you ask people who already know how to get there, that have already made it, you'll get there, and you'll get there quickly and easily. If you do what a lot of people do, which unfortunately I even did, made this mistake in the beginning, you ask people what to do and they spew off a list of 40 certifications. You get 40 certifications, in the end, nobody has any interest in what you want. So I'm here to make sure that you can build the most elite career. So ask us your questions. That's why I'm here. Before we do, to let you know, we currently have a 40% off Black Friday sale. And this applies to every last one of our programs, whether it be the award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program, which now has graduates working at Apple, Amazon, Cisco, Microsoft, Google, IBM, Palo Alto Networks, KPMG, Accenture, Deloitte, Capgemini, or any other prestigious organization. Or whether it be our tech leadership program, our tech interview mastery program, or everything is 40% off, including the non-live version of the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So it's all there. So please ask your questions so I can assist you in building an elite career. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome with your questions, and please ask them now so I can help you. Please, I wish everybody in the US that celebrates Thanksgiving a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And if you're not in the US, I wish you just a good couple of days too to take some time if you have that opportunity. So that's why we do what we do. So while I wait to answer your questions, I got to tell you, when I started in tech 20 years or 25 years ago, it was different. In those days, the tech was really didn't work. And we were looking for people that could make it work. And in those days, it was all about the tech. But guess what? In today's world, it's what the tech can do for the business. The tech is very different. So ask us your questions and we can get you there. Looks like we have our first question. So let me address the first question. The question is from Cloud Station. How can a cloud newbie jumpstart his or her journey to becoming a cloud architect? Are there any particular specifics to be mindful of in order to have a successful career? Absolutely, and I'm glad you're asking these questions. First, I'd like to invite you to download the completely free guide on how to get your first cloud architect job, and join me on Monday night to a completely free webinar, which we will hold on Zoom. And we will cover the cloud architect role and everything that you need to know. But I'm going to give you some information right now, Cloud Station. The first thing I need you to know is the cloud architect job has nothing to do with engineering. And I got to tell you, 90% of the people make this mistake. They do cloud engineering things and expect that somebody's going to hire them as a cloud architect. Now, that's like saying I learned how to work on the engines of an airplane and get a job as a pilot. It's just not going to work because they're different skills. So Cloud Station, let's talk about what we do as architects. As architects, our whole goal is as follows. How do we help our clients improve their organizations or their businesses with technology? So the role itself is how to help organizations. Now, Cloud Station, what if I told you more than 50% of all cloud projects fail? Meaning they cost more money and they don't benefit their clients. And that's because there were people that were trying to look at architecture from a technical perspective. This is a business-oriented job. So here's what we do. First thing we do is we interact with our client. And I'm telling you this so you know which skills we need. We will ask the executive team of the company, what is your vision for the organization in the future? Because we have to understand what we're trying to go. What are we trying to achieve as an architect? So we ask the organization about their vision for the business. Then Cloud Station, we have to map out the way the business operates today. We map out the business processes. How do they sell? What's the customer journey like, for example? And then we have to ask the business, how do we want them to operate in the future? Now, when we know what that organization wants in the future, now we can begin examining the current technology, their current data, and how they leverage it. And we can design a new technology architecture, either on the private cloud, which is a data center, the public cloud like AWS or Azure or Google, or a hybrid cloud, which is data center plus AWS, or a hybrid multi-cloud, which is data center plus multiple clouds. Now, keep in mind, CloudStation, that it's not like a certification. 98% of organizations are multi-cloud. And there's a lot of things that we have to do multi-cloud, which are exactly the opposite of what you're taught in a certification. So multi-cloud architects, which is everybody in today's world, have to do things a little different. Then after we understand the organization's vision, and after we understand the organization's vision, then we can understand how they want to work in the future, and then we can map the technology by working backwards. How do we get this job done? So that's what we do. Then the next thing we typically do, CloudStation, is we've got to sell that vision and that technology blueprint to the executives. We usually work pre-sales, so we usually have to go negotiate that deal. Then we have to go sell that deal. And CloudStation, once it's done, we go off to the new client and we start another architecture project. So the cloud architect will not code, they will not configure, they will not do DevOps, they will not do SysOps, they will not play with Linux, they will not deal with Python. So the job is a half business executive job, half technology job. So we'll be doing things like stakeholder management, managing the stakeholders in our client and our current organization. We're going to be involved in sales. We're going to be presenting at conferences. We're going to be writing thought leadership documents. We're going to be writing white papers. We're going to be negotiating business deals. We're going to be presenting to the executives, to the C-suite. We'll be giving presentations. So that's the job. So if you understand that it's not a techie position, it's an executive position who also knows technology, then you'll understand what you need to learn is business and tech. Things like sales, things like executive presence, CXO relevancy training, leadership training, sales training, negotiation training, stakeholder management skills. Those are going to be your tech skills. And then, what's the cloud? The cloud is a network and a data center that's been virtualized. So you will need to know the network, the data center, and the cloud. And whether that be routing and switching things, or storage area networks like block storage, object storage, or file storage, or security appliances like next generation firewalls, because we won't usually use the cloud native things. We're going to need more robust, more enterprise grade things. Whether it be business applications, what we do is we build the blueprint. So we write up a document, we explain the document, we draw some pictures, and then we sell it. So you need strong networking and data center sales and very strong cloud skills. And it's our job to put the pieces together. Now, CloudStation, one of the things that I want you to understand is putting pieces together. Building things will not teach you at all how to design them. So for example, if I wanted to have somebody build a building for me, I'm going to go to an architect and they're going to design the blueprint for the building. And they've got special skills in system design. And then after I say, yes, architect, I want this, it gets handed over to a construction crew. The construction workers go build it. Now, nobody ever asked a construction worker to design a 5-star hotel, or to design a shopping mall, or to design a golf course. They ask architects. So where people go wrong in their training to be an architect is they learn to code, they learn Python, they learn SysOps, they learn DevOps, they learn scripting, they learn Linux, but they don't learn system design. So join us on Monday for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. We will go over 100% of the skills that you need to learn. And we'll go over it, and then we'll be face-to-face live on YouTube, and we can answer any question you have, because I want to know, CloudStation, that you get an incredible cloud architect job, and you will do wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Chris, we can go to the next question. Is the Azure Cloud Administrator, sir, equal to the AWS Solutions Architect Associate? You know, Kevin, pretty much the same thing. They're basic, very intro, very junior level, name of a service and how to configure that service. It has nothing related to what we do as architects, because if I went to my client and talked about Blob or Cosmos, they'd escort me out of the room via security and they'd say, Mike, get the heck out of here. Now, if I talk to them about their NoSQL database needs or their object storage needs, we'd be good to go. So the key is you really do want to get a certification or two, or even 3, but no more than 3. And the certification will not teach you anything related to the job. It'll teach you how to be the administrator job, which is the most junior level of the roles. But Kevin, it can help you get an interview. So the key is I would do the Azure Solutions Architect Expert, and I think, and that's the one I would do, or I would do the AWS Solutions Architect Professional. Now I understand you've got to do the equivalent associate in certain cases to be able to get it, and if that's the case, go do it. But yes, Kevin, it's functionally the same. It's a basic intro to the services and how to configure those services. And that's it. Douglas Gillette, good to see you. Hello, everyone. Enjoy the stream. Mike is a great coach, and the whole team is fantastic. Thank you so much, Douglas. Douglas is an enterprise architect working with us. He is absolutely wonderful. And Douglas is a rock star when it comes to audio and visual technologies from his past life. He worked at big conferences, and he's constantly helping me make sure that our audio and video is good. So, Douglas, you can let me know how my audio sounds today. And Douglas, I'm always thrilled to see you. Richard LaPasca, so good to see you. How are you all today? LinkedIn user, is there a marked difference between a cloud architect role and an AWS and a solutions architect role? It's the same job. Now, AWS has a term, that, except at AWS, they make up a term cloud architect, which is some back-end engineer. But for the rest of the world, a cloud, and they use the term solution architect. Azure uses the term cloud solutions architect. Google uses the term cloud architect. To us, a cloud architect is multi-cloud, and a solutions architect is a single cloud, but it's generally the same job. Whether you're a solution architect, whether you're a cloud architect, your whole goal is to design a solution or an architecture or a blueprint to improve your customer's business performance. That's the entire job. So it really doesn't matter. Now, I've been a solution architect. I've also been an enterprise architect and a cloud architect, and here's the big difference. If I'm a solutions architect at NVIDIA, I'm going to design, present, and sell a solution related to GPUs. If I'm a solutions architect at Cisco, I'm going to design, present, and sell systems that are related to Cisco's products. If I am a cloud architect, I'm going to design, present, and sell the solutions that's optimal for my customer, whether it be on AWS, Azure, Google, IBM, whether it be on all three clouds together, and we get our security appliances from, say, Palo Alto and Fortinet, and we get our SIEM systems from another company, and then we get our networking systems from Cisco or Juniper. That's the real cloud architecture. It's this big global enterprise, everything that an organization needs. So in theory, it's the same job. And in practicality, it really is. But when you're a solution architect, you're typically a hired gun to go sell that one product and that one product only. When you're a cloud architect, your goal is to pick everything from the best. So it's pretty much the same. It's very easy for one of our cloud architects to be solution architects, and we've got people hired as solution architects constantly. In fact, I'd say in our cloud architect program, at least half of our people get solution architect jobs. But some of them also go for bigger roles, these cloud architect roles and these enterprise architect roles, and a lot of them get them too. So the key is, you can do whichever they want. Personally, I like it big. And you know why I like it big? Because Microsoft is the leader in AI by far right now, by most experts' opinion. And AWS has the largest infrastructure. And Google has developed some of the best algorithms in the world. Why not leverage all three? And when it comes to security, I'm not going to use a cloud native firewall. It's not going to be good enough for my clients. I'm going to use a next generation firewall that's adaptive in nature, whether I get it from Checkpoint or Palo Alto or Fortinet or Cisco. And I'm going to use that. And that way I'm giving my clients the best they need. If I need a really big database, I'm going to use Apache Cassandra or MongoDB based on my read or write load. And that way I can run it across all clouds, just like an Oracle database can run across all clouds. And the cloud architect would know not to use the cloud proprietary things, to use the bigger ones. And that way we create interoperability. But otherwise, it's the same job. Great question there, LinkedIn user. Chris, we can go to the next one. And please ask your questions. Don't be shy. I want to help you get to your goals. Kevin Jalop, how come a lot of architect roles are advertised or disguised as engineer or technical roles? Kevin, here's the funny thing. In 25 years in tech, I've never seen a job description that mattered, that was relevant. They're really a comedy routine. And to be fair, Kevin, I'm guilty of the same thing. I've been asked to create a job description, and here's the thing. I've got work to do. And I already, in my job, especially as a manager, I'm probably working 10 hours a day just to be there. And now I've got to write some silly job description for somebody that I want to hire. And The reality is I'm going to call my friend Christina Marino at IT Excel and say, Christina, I need a really good person. Could you bring me someone in? But of course, HR is going to make me write some silly job description. So here's the way I write job descriptions. I basically go to the internet, I do a search for network architect or cloud architect or enterprise architect. I look at the thing that's 15 pages long because it looks good, it's going to make HR happy. I'm going to cut and paste that into a Word document. Then I'm going to say none of what I need is here. I'm going to add my little bit of stuff. I'm going to save it. I'm going to send it to HR, and they're going to say, Mike, you did a beautiful job. You made a very comprehensive job description. And they're there. But at the end, the job description is a comedy routine. I mean, literally speaking, it's a comedy routine. So, Kevin, I've never had more than 10% of things on a job description. I've never been in an interview where I didn't get the job. And on the 5 companies I've interviewed for, they offered me better jobs than the one I actually applied for. So the key is knowing the skills and being there. Sometimes we also do it. So many, many years ago, I had received an architect job, a consulting systems architect job from a Cisco Gold partner before I went to Cisco. And they hired me as a consulting systems architect. And when I spoke to them on the phone, they were like, I want you to do architect work, design, present, sell a technology solution. And then when I got there, they said, Mike, we just lost our engineer. Would you be willing to do some engineering? And I said, no. And they said, what if we wanted to do engineering? And I said, it was nice to meet you. And I took a principal 2 architect job at Comcast, which was waiting for me because I had 2 job offers at the time. So because I wasn't going to be an engineer. Now, that's the key. I went someplace that valued me. They gave me architecture work. So if you're at Amazon, if you're at IBM, if you're at Cisco, if you're at Microsoft, if you're at Google, if you're at Accenture, if you're at KPMG, if you're at Capgemini, if you're at Citrix, if you're at Deloitte or any big company like JP Morgan Chase, you're not going to be allowed to touch the technology. So that's the key. It's got to, all these tech job descriptions are very, very, very silly in most cases. They're just silly. And that's why CIO magazine actually asked CIOs, well, they wanted a cloud architect, and they basically gave, a list of skills. The main 3 was they wanted someone that could lead the cultural change for cloud architecture, developing coordinated cloud strategy, and coordinate the adoption process. So, there were the things that were like, we want you to do. My team can pop that link as well, but no. And when in doubt, go ask a principal architect or a distinguished architect at any company. Don't ask an associate architect because that's a trainee position. They don't even know what they don't know. The first people that are architects first in several levels typically don't know what they know either. And once you make it to principal architect, which I did in 2 years, that's when you've made it as an architect at the principal architect level or the distinguished architect level. That's when you really know. And I was a principal architect 25 years ago. And it only went up for me from there, and that's what I want from you. I want the best of the best for you. Kevin, you're a great guy. Hope to see you soon. Kevin says, make sure you sign up to his course. It will teach you the fundamentals of cloud. Kevin, thank you. Kevin is a wonderful student of ours in the Australia region, and I really appreciate your kind words and feedback. Telecom Sim 2022. To come up with a solution for a business problem, you have to research the possible tools and let the engineers build a proof of concept before implementing a solution. You worry about suggesting solutions that flop. Telecom, if you're trained, you're not going to suggest solutions that flop. So you have to understand the business problem. Then you have to understand the goals of the business. Then you design the technology solution. Meaning, you design the architectures, whether it be servers or containers, what kind of load balancer you need, what your storage environment was going to be, what kind of big data applications might you be using or not using, or using any voice over IP or video applications that you might need to use, what kind of CRM systems, for example, or ERP systems or supply chain systems are going to be integrated into the solution, what kind of security do you need to architect the solution, what kind of remote access do you need. That's your job. You design it. Now, then, when it comes to the proof of concept, you're an architect. You don't touch technology. You bring in the engineers to build it, but you have to design it, so you need to know. And that's why we spend 700 hours training our cloud architects, because it takes a lot of time to learn how to put the pieces together. So they're going to be there, and then the proof of concept. But here's the thing, Telco Sim. The reason the architect needs so much leadership skills, so much sales skills, the ability to exercise influence, executive presence, negotiation is Telecom Sim 2022, you're not going to design an architecture by yourself. I want you to imagine what this sounds like. Let's pretend you're the chief executive officer in the company. Telecom Sim, I have been an architect for 25 years and I design your solution all by myself. They're going to laugh. Now, Telecom Sim, think about this. Hi, it's Mike Gibbs. I'm the lead enterprise architect with Cisco Systems. I've heard your business needs. We've heard your concerns. And here's what I did for you. I built a team of 15 of the best architects I could find. We brought in 2 cloud security architects to make sure your security is rock solid. I brought in a data scientist and a big data architect to help you leverage data to maximize your business performance and create better inferences. I brought in some network architects to make sure that every part of your system runs, because as we all know, you have no network, you have nothing else. I also brought in an identity and access management architect and a zero trust architect to truly add some additional ways to lock your system down. Now, in addition to this, I brought in some DevOps engineers so they can think about how they can automate the release of these things. And I even brought some maintenance people, otherwise known as SysOps, to see what suggestions they had in system management tools. Telecom Sim 22. Do you feel better with the second one than the first guy saying, I did it all myself, believe me, trust me? So Telecom Sim, I build a team of 15 to 50 people on every architecture, and we design it together. Now, how do you do that? You develop leadership skills. You develop the ability to exercise influence. You go back to your company, you reach out to your manager's manager, and you say, I've got an opportunity that's worth $100 million. In order to make this opportunity work, I'm going to need this many people coming from here, 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 and here. And together, we're going to do it. And then all those people help you. And Telecom Sim, when you're done, you make sure that entire team gets credit. And personally, one of the reasons everybody was willing to work with me in my life is I asked, what do the engineers want? And they usually wanted to be promoted, and I would teach them how to be promoted. So that's the job. So don't get nervous, get the right training, and you will be great. But systems administration, you can learn on your own. Engineering, you can learn on your own. Architecture, that you need to be trained. You also need to be trained on how to fly an airplane, because you don't want to make mistakes with the plane in the air with people in it. And you need to be trained on how to be a doctor. But Telecom Sim, it's the best career ever. I wish you really good. Telecom Sim says, thank you, Mike and team. Really appreciate the suggestions. Well, we are here to help you. That's why we're here. I love helping people. So please keep asking your questions. Come back as often as you like, please. Emperor Akira, so you're interested in our course, but was wondering, with someone trying to be a security architect, which program would you recommend? Also, what knowledge mindset shall I obtain from a newbie for your role? Emperor Akira, we have cloud security architects that work everywhere that come straight out of our cloud architect career development program. We've got a network architect track, a security architect track, and the regular track. We can easily help you there. Now, easily understand, Emperor Akira, the closer you are to the business, and versus the more you will earn, the closer you are to technology, the less you'll earn. But I love security. I did some security architecture work in my career, and I love it. I love it. I love it. The Cloud Architect Career Development Program will easily get you to your goals. You'll come in, you'll build a plan, and you'll go right through it, and you'll have nothing, and you'll have a great, great, great experience. You know, it's funny. We get so deep in our training that when people go on interviews with cloud providers, our average student, when they go over how they would design a demilitarized zone for X, Y, or Z kind of capability, they usually stop them and say, Mike, enough about the security, or whoever my clients are. We get it. You know what you're talking about. Now let's talk about what you like. So we'll get very deep about security. You know, I'm not Mr. Certification, but one of the security certifications we recommend is the CISSP. That's the only one we recommend. And, you know, there are other certifications out there that, you know, you can pretty much do pretty easily. But this one's, you know, on the more challenging side. And I've got people that get that straight out of our training program just from the work we do, and they act like it's nothing. People that have never worked in tech before can pass out like nothing with our training program, and they also know how to design security architecture. So, Emperor Akira, I know we can help you. I would be honored to help you, and let's get you signed up. You've been hanging around for a little while, and what I can tell you this is, you know, every day that you're not working as an architect, at least if you're in the US, is about $800 for the average architect pay, let's get you started. And that way, we can get you hired and paid more and have a great life. But we'd happily work with you. I know we can easily help you get a cloud security architect job. Bob Welch, an example of a person that got a cloud security architect job. Dilray Bhatt is an example of people that have a cloud architect job. Richard Lepaska's over there. He just passed his CCIA or CISSP, and he is a rock star, and his security knowledge is great. He was just sharing a document with me that he wrote, and it was very impressive to me. So go out there. I'd love to be honored with you. It is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and my team will pop a link for that and give you a 40% off coupon because it is the Black Friday sale. Take advantage of it while it's going on. And also, if you want to come on the webinar on Monday night, love to talk to you, love to see you, love to meet you in person. Of course, if you're in class, I'll get to meet you in person too. Great questions. Please feel free to ask more. Chris, bring in the next question. Oh, I love this. Mike is not qualified to talk about job descriptions. Where is HR expert Christopher Johnson? So Valerie, it's hilarious. Yeah,
I'm back here, Valerie. Don't worry, I'm back here.
Yeah, Chris actually spent many years working in HR, and he'll tell you that job descriptions are absolutely silly. Chris also likes to talk, Valerie, about when we get HR, VPs of HR come to our program and they say we want to hire people. And we look at some of their silly job descriptions and we ask them, they're like, oh, that's just a cut and paste job. So yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Honestly, it's the job descriptions that are out there are really a comedy routine to me. In fact, me and a couple of architect buddies that have been architects for decades, we used to almost on a quarterly basis set up a WebEx call, and we would all drink Macallan 25. It's a scotch that a lot of us architects tend to like. And we would sip our Macallan scotch and we would go through job descriptions saying, I've been an architect for 25 years. Have you ever seen anybody do this? Nope. How about this? No, don't know anybody that does this either. So I don't even know. But, I actually read LinkedIn posts these days and it feels like 50% of them are written by AI. And you would think people that would want to build the brand would actually write too. So, I don't know. Cloud Station. A follow-up question regarding the business aspects. Since cloud architects are more business inclined, how do they assess the viability of a particular solution and how can it benefit their client? Cloud Station, that's one of the things we teach in our cloud architect program, but I need you to quantify the business problem. So I'll give you an example. I worked with a hospital at one point. They had upwards of 800 nurses. When we modeled and followed the nurses around to see what was going on, we found that the nurses were spending 25% of their time looking for equipment. Again, I'm going to say this again, 25% of their time looking for equipment. Now, of course, the hospital said, we have no budget for technology. And I said, your nurses, of which you've got 800 of them, are spending 25% of their time looking for equipment. So then we were able to quantify the cost of the nurses. The average salary, fully loaded nursing salary with benefits of the organization was $55 an hour. And the fully loaded, time and a half overtime salary was about $80 an hour. And by doing so, we were able to say 800 nurses times $110 per day, and we showed them the quantity of the business problem. Then we showed the RFID tagging system that would enable nurses to know where wheelchairs and IV pumps are and the equipment that they were looking for overnight. And guess what? Instantly, they did it, and instantly the organization saved money. Then we examined other problems that nurses had and doctors had in the hospital. So the key is you have to understand business. So for example, if you're going to an airline and the airline's biggest thing is fuel costs, you have to learn about how the airline would buy and sell and purchase options to fuel. And then you would have to learn what ways that you could do to make better price predictions, like could artificial intelligence mine through news, mine through supply and demand curves of oil, mine through news of production cuts and production increases, mine through holiday seasons and help the airline say, yep, right now I'll purchase the contract. And that's why cloud architects, you can't learn this on your own. You have to be taught. But you'll be able to assess this. You have to build a business case in every single client. That's the funny thing that I learned many years ago at Cloud Station was nobody wakes up and says, Mike, I want to spend $1 billion on technology. You have to be able to go in there and understand their business problem. And when you understand the business problem, then you understand what problem you're trying to solve. And you'd have to design a solution that costs less than the problem. And that's where people say, I don't have budget. That's not true. Any organization in the world has budget. They have budget for the thing. You do too. What if I were to tell you you give me $10 and I can turn it into 100? You'd find money that you don't even have. You'd borrow money from friends if I could give you a 10,000% return on your investment. You would do it easily. And that's the thing with the business. They approach every business decision in a logical mathematical capacity. They examine the problem, they examine the cost of the solution, and then they say, I've got 3 ways that I can spend my money, project X, Y, and Z. And they pick the project where they can spend their limited financial resources on the best thing. To kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Our training is $2,500 for $1,500 right now on discount. I got someone in the last 2 months a $409,000 job. That's a pretty good return on investment for the $2,500 course at full price. A $400,000 a year job times 10 years is $4 million. Now, previously he earned $151, so the only thing I got him was $250 per year times 10 years. That's $2.5 million in 10 years, or $7.5 million in 30 years. That's a good return on investment. And that's what we want to do, is we try to give our students the best return on investment. But you have to be taught how to build a business case. You have to be taught how to examine the business problem. And that's one of the things, which is the reasons people can do cloud projects all day long and they're never going to learn architecture, because architecture is about this. So I hope I answered your question. Cloud Station, ask another. Ask as many as you want. I want to help you. I love these questions you're asking. It means you're thinking, and you're thinking real well. Rachel Pasca says, Douglas Gillette is our de facto backbone. No one is more inspiring than him. Our team is great because of pros like him. Douglas Gillette is a rock star. He is a fantastic enterprise architect. Douglas came and visited me at home and stayed with my family, got to meet Cindy, and I completely agree with you, Richard. Our community has many backbones and many rock stars, and I got to tell you, the best experience of my life has been working with our community. And that's what makes our community so great. We have people with PhDs, we have people with law degrees, we have nurses, we have everybody, mental health professionals, we've got sales professionals, tech professionals, engineers, architects that are all coming to better themselves, and they all work together. So Richard, thank you so much, and I completely agree with you about him. Mohammed, how do you reach a recruiter directly? You pick up the phone and you call them. But Mohammed, more seriously, you have to make them want to come to you. Now, there are recruiters that I know, and maybe I'll bring Christina Marino. I'll talk to her. She's done some videos here on our channel. And I call her and say, Christina, I'm looking for a job. Mike, oh, what do you want? Where do you go? I'll start calling people and selling you, because she'll do that because she knows me. But that's what I would do. But what I teach my students is to create really good content. Really good content. And, it has to be the right content. So, like when people promote content, the worst thing you can do, and I can see some boot camps that are terrible advising their students to do it, they're like, here, I set up a web server. And they take screenshots of every step along the way to create a web server. And in the process, they take something they could write in 4 lines and turn it into 10 pages. Now, from an employer perspective, that says, please don't, that tells me as an employer, I can't hire this person because they're first showing me something that's so junior, I could never hire them. And secondly, they can't communicate if they need 10 pages to say something that could be said in a sudo app-get HTTPD or sudo app-get HTTPD or something like that. I don't touch Linux and I haven't for 20 years, but that's the point. Something can be done in 1 line you wouldn't want to have put in a 15-page document. Now, by comparison, if the engineer built something, if it's a cloud engineer, remember engineers build, and a cloud engineer actually built something that was a multi-cloud architecture, that was multi-cloud, and it was using different databases, it had security, and you could see all the work they did and what it did and what problem it solved. Now people are going to take note of that and say, this person's good. If it's an architect, what do architects do, Mohammed? They design, present, and sell technology solutions. They give presentations, they write thought leadership documents, and they can go out there and they can write something that can show how this new technology can solve whatever business problem, and they can go into an analysis and they can build a business case. And by doing so, poof, they're showing that they're an architect. So the key is if you build the brand, and a brand is not using ChatGPT to make your LinkedIn post. That just shows me not to hire you because I can't hire somebody that's too lazy to write it themselves. It's not about creating a ton of content. It's about going out there and building real content, showing your worth and showing you're meaningful. Now, it depends where you're at. Some places have great recruiters, but that's one of the things you do. You can create great content. There's also some great branding work you can do. You can create messages, you can network, and you can reach out to them on LinkedIn. But don't just ask. I get 100 people spam me each day. They want to sell me something. I'm here to solve this problem for you, but I don't have this problem. So go out there and build a relationship with people, build the community. And then once you know them, then you can ask. That's the secret. Add value before you ask. Add value before you ask. So, Mohammed, feel free to ask more directions. One day I'm going to go to Somalia, and I'd love to meet you down there because, you come around a lot, and I'm always honored by your presence. I guess we can go to the next one. Mark Milonovic. So Mark, I know really well. He's an extraordinary network architect. Hopefully one day he even joins our company. So I always like to hear what he asks. Mark, what is your personal opinion on why the industry pushes an engineering career more than an architecture career, given the significant potential of the latter? Well, Mark, here's the sad reality. What you can see going on in tech right now is, let's reduce the skill and knowledge of the professionals. Let's teach them the basic stuff that's covered in a silly little certification, and let's hire them as cheap as we can. So if you need workers, do you want your workers to be expensive from a corporate perspective, or you want them to be cheap? So they tend to push people into the skills that are very cheap, and they can hire low-cost people that way. So there's that. The second side of it is, who's pushing these engineering things? The people that are really pushing them are the vendors that are pushing people to take something. Now, when you take a certification, like the AWS certification, and they tell you about DynamoDB, and I'm not just picking on Amazon, any of the other vendors would do the same thing. They tell you how great DynamoDB is. They tell you all the features and benefits, almost kind of like to turn you into a sales rep. Oh, I want to use DynamoDB. What they don't tell you, Mark, is not to use DynamoDB if you need multi-cloud, which is 98% of the organizations. They tell you how good it is, not why you shouldn't use it. So they're pushing these engineering certifications because they're hoping the engineers drive the architecture. So here's what I mean. There's plenty of companies where I've walked into where the CEO wants to do one thing, and there's some cool new technology that the engineers learned on, and they're going to the CEO and the CIO, we need this, we need this, we need this. Oh, got to go everything microservices. Ooh, this is fun. And then the CIO asked me, should we change everything to microservices? And I'm like, well, let's talk about who microservices benefit. Let's talk about the benefit of this versus this. After an analysis, no, you shouldn't make any changes, or yes, you should. Engineers are in love with the technology. And if you push people to be in love with the technology, they're going to run around like hammers in search of a nail. I need this, I need this, I need this, which means more money for the people that make the technology. If you approach it in the framework of an architect is, here's what the business needs, let's solve the problem. It doesn't matter whether you're using an ice machine. It doesn't matter whether you're hiring a call center overseas. And it doesn't matter if you're using artificial intelligence. You're really finding out, how do I maximize that organization and its value? So it's that. But, in general, what's the world teach? When you go to school, do they teach you the elite skills of the top 5%? No. They teach you the skills of the average person, not the top 5%. Now, Mark, to get those top % skills, you can do what I did, which is you can go get your first master's degree, and then go get an MBA, or 3/4 of it, get hired in the real world, then get a second MBA, and then take $100,000 of leadership training after school. You could do that. That's what I did. And that's why, Mark, I created our course, to keep people from doing the things that are going to keep them at the bottom or the mid-level, and we take people straight to the top. So, Mark, I hope I answered your question. Please feel free to ask more of it if I didn't. Love that you're here, and I love the questions you asked, Mark. Kevin, I know the answer is it depends, but is it better to have one DMZ or multiple DMZs to segment the next infrastructure? Well, Kevin, this is a forum to talk about career things, but generally speaking, you'll have a separate demilitarized zone for every single application that needs to be reachable. Because here's why. Let's say I had a web demilitarized zone. and I wanted to do remote access and web stuff. It means in the demilitarized zone, I would have to allow traffic, say IPsec, as well as HTTPS. And I don't want my web servers to even see IPsec traffic. I only want them to see HTTP and HTTPS based on what the app needs. So I'm going to create a demilitarized zone for remote access, potentially a demilitarized zone for a web app, another demilitarized zone for something else. So organizations will have many and many ACLs. And they're not just going to be locked behind an access list. They're going to be locked behind multiple sets of next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, etc. But good technical question, Kevin, and I love that you're thinking. So I like that. Charles Yuda, you're a new student and would like to know my recommendation on the appropriate road to navigate the class architect recordings and get the knowledge. Charles, the way I read a book is page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. The way I would go through our training is video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4, video 5. I don't think there's really anything to navigate. That would be my way, but that's how I do things. You could also ask other students in the class, but generally speaking, I would typically start in the beginning, and I'd say you can skip probably the first 10 or 15 classes we did in the beginning, and then go straight into the content. The first few we actually did via audio only in the beginning, but kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Go through one at a time. Please go out there and network with the community. The Navy SEALs have a swim buddy and they stick together throughout all their training evolutions and buds. Army people have battle buddies that train together. Find yourself a swim buddy. Go out there and use Slack and find somebody and work with them together, and you're going to do really great. I'm thrilled that you're there, but literally go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We didn't really make the content where people could curate it and do it one at a time. We put everything that you need to know, so please go in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll be great. And yes, Charles, there is a tremendous amount of content, and most people get hired before they finish the program. Dorcas, would the projects on AWS Workshop Studio serve as individual projects for a newbie in cloud architecture? Dorcas, you can do 1,000 projects and nobody's going to care because cloud architects don't do projects. They design, present, and sell technology solutions. These systems administration projects that you will see on the AWS website are great if you wanted a systems administrator job like a cloud admin. They're not good enough for the cloud engineer because the cloud engineer is going to have to work on multiple clouds versus just this. And the cloud architect designs a solution. And here's the thing. If I give you a hammer and give you a nail and say, go hammer those nails, you're not going to know how to design a skyscraper or a 1,000-meter tall building because the knowledge to design is completely different than the knowledge to build. So, no, it will provide you absolutely no value with regards to architecture training. It will provide you significant value if your the goal is to be a cloud admin, which pays about 1/3 of what a cloud architect does. But no, it provides no value. And unfortunately, Dorcas, every day I get people that have spent 2 and 3 years doing cloud projects. And then they go on an interview and someone asks them about things and they can't answer it. So, Dorcas, I want you to understand the difference between how something works and how to do it. Cloud architects need to understand how the inner workings of something are versus doing it. I'll give you an example. Let's say you type www.gocloudcareers.com on your browser and press enter. Poof, our website's going to come up. Now you know how to use a browser. But do you know how the internet works? You went to a browser, but do you know how the internet works? So that's the thing that's different. So to give you a summary, learning how to configure something is like using your web browser. Now, here's really what happens from a networking perspective, just a networking perspective when you enter a web address in your browser. The first thing you do is type www.gocloudcareers.com. Then your computer does a DNS lookup and it goes and reaches out across the internet to the DNS server, or it reaches your DNS server and says, what's the IP address of www.gocloudcareers.com? Then your PC is going to go look in its routing table and it's going to say, do I have a route to the address of gocloudcareers.com? And your PC is going to say, I don't have a route, but I've got a default route. Send the packet or the request to my default gateway. So next, your PC is going to do an ARP who has the MAC address of the IP address of the website. And then your router is going to respond with something called a proxy ARP that says, I have the MAC address. Now the data from your PC now hit the first router in the network. And now the router is going to say, do I have a route on my routing table to the IP address of Go Cloud Careers? And it's going to say, yes, I do. And then it's going to send an ARP request to see who is the MAC address of that. It's going to send it to the next router. Now, that process will occur until it reaches the end destination. Now, the packet finally makes it to the web server, and it's a TCP SYN, which says synchronize or open a connection. And then the web server will respond and say, yes, I've got that, and it'll acknowledge the SYN. And then I'll say, I'll do a message request that will send until the packets are sent to my web page. So see all that I described? And I actually omitted a few steps just to make it simple. None of that you would learn by actually going there and doing a lab project by clicking on web pages. And that's the problem when people do engineering labs. They learn how to, but they don't know why. And that's why nobody asks a pilot who's a great pilot at flying an airplane to design a rocket ship. They hire an aeronautical architect or an aerospace architect, not an airplane pilot. So no, those projects are great if you want to be an engineer, but they will provide zero value to you if you want to be an architect. I hope that makes sense to you. Now, it might help you understand what the engineers do. Well, that's okay. But then again, I don't know how my mechanic actually fixes my car. I just know to bring my car in every 10,000 miles for an oil change because that's what Mercedes recommends. And when I take it to the mechanic, I do what they say. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Great question. What's the difference between the AWS Associate and Professional certs? You're about to take the Associate and thought it would be sufficient for a cloud newbie. Can a newbie take the Professional? Why not just go, yeah, you can take the Professional. So here's the difference. The AWS Associate Architect exam is a very junior level, very junior level systems administration exam. The Certified Solution Architect Professional is still a very low level, very basic level certification exam. It teaches you the name of the service and how to configure it. I will tell you the way they ask questions on the Professional is far more wordy and challenging, but the content is simple on both. None of these are significant. So I want to put Telecom SIM 2022, I want to put these AWS certifications in context. Employers don't care about certifications. Why? Because they know that they're not enough. Now, the certification will get you an interview, but you've got to learn the skills for the real job. Here's something funny for you. We have a book that's enough for you to pass the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional. And, that we can put in 500 pages of reading. Now, the Cisco Certified Internet Expert is a certification that can get you a job. It's about 75,000 pages of reading. So if I'm going to count on a certification as being sufficient, I want somebody that read the 75,000 pages of the CCA, like Mark Malokovich, that's also on the chat box, or me, I actually did it. I don't care if somebody passed the Certified Solution Architect Professional. I know they probably still don't know anything. Now, Telecom SIM, I'll tell you, I've interviewed 1,000 people that passed the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate and Professional, and over 950 of them didn't even know what an EC2 instance actually was. They didn't know that it was a virtual machine. Now, of the 1,000 people that passed that exam, not a single one could even tell me what cloud computing was. Now, of the 1,000 people that passed that, not a single one understood the routing that's necessary to get on and off the cloud and didn't understand the difference between a wide area network and a cloud network. So none of them were hireable. And that's why I came out of retirement, Telecom SIM, to actually create the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, because I knew in my heart those certifications serve no purpose other than to get you an interview. So I love them. I recommend somebody get a TOGAF, either the Solutions Architect Professional from AWS or the Azure Solutions Architect Expert, and realize that's just to help you get an interview and boost your brand, but none of it will ever get you hired. You have to learn the skills to be hired on your own. And that's why we do what we do, and that's why we retrain everybody that's already certified. Whether they're certified, if they're certified, I got to make them forget the stuff that's in the certification and learn how to think like an architect. If they're not certified, I have to teach them how to do it, and then it's real easy to pass the exams when you know. For example, I spent 2 days preparation preparing for the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam, and that's the hardest of the cloud certs. Why did it take me 2 days preparation and only 2 days? Because I understood all the technology that exists in the data center, and a cloud is just somebody else's network and data center that they virtualize to you. So I just had to learn Google's silly names. Cloud Big Table means no SQL database. Compute Engine, it means virtual machine, which is the same as an Azure virtual machine or an AWS EC2 instance. It's all simple. So a newbie can take any exam they want. Don't worry about it. Good question. What tools does solution architect use? We don't actually touch the tech. What tools do you recommend? I recommend Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and a drawing program like Lucidchart, Draw.io, or Visio. That's it. That's the only tools we actually use. We're not using other things. No, there are certain enterprise architects that use things like Archimate. But again, these are business tools. They are not tech tools. I haven't even, I use a Mac, so I guess I could SSH into a system or secure cell. The last time I SSH'd into a system or telnetted into a system like we used to do was 25 years ago, the day I left engineering and became an architect. So there are no tools. We carry a notebook. We write Word documents. We create Excel spreadsheets, which can help us build business cases. We create PowerPoint presentations, and we draw. And Telecom Sim 2022, you know what happens when you become a better architect and you build the following? Then you either draw your things on a napkin or a piece of paper, you take a picture of it, and you send it to the graphics team, and they draw it up in Adobe InDesign. And if you look at the documents Microsoft has in the graphics, for example, that's done in Adobe InDesign. If you look at the graphics you'll see on Cisco or these companies, they're done in Adobe InDesign. The architect may make it. And then what'll happen if it's a big proposal like a $1 billion deal or a thought leadership document, a real graphics artist is going to take our pictures and they're going to make them better. So, that's kind of really what we're talking about. No tools. We are not techies. So if you had Windows and they teach you how to use putty in a cloud practitioner, there's not going to be putty on your cloud architect computer. You're not going to be dealing with that stuff. You're going to be in meetings, delivering presentations, sales, managing people, influencing others. It's a great job. I'm telling you, it's the best job there is, and it pays double what an engineering job would do. And the sky's the limit because architects are about improving business performance, leading people, selling people. It's not hard to go from that to a VP of architecture or a chief information officer or chief technology officer, because all big business jobs are architects. The CEO is a business architect. Chief operating officer is architecting how the business is going to operate and how it's going to run. Chief marketing officer is going to architect the marketing message and the plan and the branding for a business and the pricing strategy. All big jobs are architect jobs, every last one of them. And if you work in strategy and management consulting, which I did, you know what the job title was? Business architect. So they're all architect jobs, everything really at that level. Okay, Chris, we can go to the next one. Thank you, Tyrone. You've been preparing for the associate search for much. How much time above that will you need to put into preparing for the professional? Well, Telcom, it depends what you do. If your goal is to learn the career and you learn the career, you can spend a day or two and prepare for it. If you do what most people do, which is they fight hard to pass a certification and don't know what any of it means, you can spend 6 months on this and you still won't have any job-ready skills. And then you're going to need to go to a training academy and learn them. So please don't mistake these certifications for the ability to get a job. I promise you they won't help. They will only get you an interview. But if you want to win the interview, you need to know. So keep that in the back of your mind. To me, doing the certification should be the last thing. And here's why. So Jeffrey West was a student of ours. We taught him how to be a cloud architect. And he went over to Kalient, which is a cloud company, and he was hired as a solution architect with the cloud practitioner. Because nobody cares about his certifications, they cared about his ability to do the job. Delroy Batt was a student of ours, and he got his first job as a cloud security architect with no cloud certifications. Robert Welch was a student of ours, really great guy. We got him his first cloud security architect job, and he had a cloud practitioner. So it has nothing to do with your certifications. It has everything to do with your knowledge and capabilities. So if I could tell people and give them one piece of advice, stop wasting your time, effort, and money on focusing on certifications and start focusing on skills. Really good article. It was on Yahoo Finance yesterday, and it was from Ramadi. She was the CEO of IBM. And she says, look, this is not like it was 20 years ago. We don't hire based upon degrees. We hire on skills. I've spoken to thousands of hiring managers, thousands of recruiters. thousands of CIOs, CEOs, CTOs, and I said, do you care about certs? And they say, I care about skills. I care about people that can get my job done. So please, Telecom Sim, stop wasting your time on certs, get the skills, and after you get the skills, spend a couple of days of preparation for the exam, and it'll only be a few days. And here's why I say it last. You can get hired with skills and no certs, but nobody will hire you for having certifications because they don't have any skills related to our job. So skills, then certs. So fundamentals, all the knowledge you need, all the non-tech knowledge you need, all the interview preparation you need, leadership training, sales training, executive presence, business acumen training, get all that. And then when you're ready to get hired, then spend a couple days, prepare for the certification, knock that certification out of the park, and poof, you're hired. But you spend 6 months focusing on the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Do you know what you need to do? I'll tell you. You're going to have to start from scratch, forget everything, and then learn. There was a student I had, his name was Daniel Boso. He came to me, he had wasted a tremendous amount of money on this horrible boot camp. He talked about which boot camp it is. I won't malign any competitors. It's just not appropriate. But anyway, he spent, about 5 times more than our training program, actually more than that, on this ridiculous boot camp that was taught by people that knew nothing. And then he came to us. And then he said, Mike, I just passed the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Can I go on an interview? And I said, no. And he said, why? I got a certification. So in front of the class, I said, Daniel, let me ask you 3 questions. And he said, all right, I should have listened to you when you told me certifications were meaningless. And here's what Daniel did. Then I said, Daniel, now we got to forget all that stuff you learned. Now, Daniel, the good news, you don't have to worry about the exam. So Daniel, we taught him. 6 months later, this guy, and he's smart, was hired by JP Morgan Chase. Now, Daniel didn't even graduate high school. 6 months after our training, he was hired at JP Morgan Chase, but he had to forget what he learned in the Certified Solution Architect Professional, and he had to learn architecture, not the name of a proprietary service and how to configure that, because we don't do that. So I hope that answers your question, because I want the best for you. Please focus on your career first, certification second. Mark, how are soft skills integrated into the Global Cloud Architects training program, considering their importance to any industry? So, Mark, I'm going to ask that. If any of you have any last questions, please add them. Otherwise, I'm a busy guy. I'll go back to running my company, but I'll stick around longer if you guys have questions. So please ask some questions if you have some. So, how are soft skills integrated into our program? Mark, they're integrated into everything. They're integrated into the way our students give video presentations, and we give feedback in them. They're integrated in 1 class per week where we focus on leadership skills and sales skills. In every architecture we do, there's communication between the students. And in every architecture we do, the students have to come back and sell it to us. Not only help design it, present it, and sell it. We have students that will take a lead on projects and have to manage the team. We hold classes on having difficult conversations. We have classes on sales. We have classes on leadership. So we're constantly integrating it into everything we do. We do work on practice interviews, which has more soft skills. So everything we do in our training program is train the way we work. So I base it on 2 things. So I studied martial arts my entire life. Now, I did one form of martial arts that looked like art. Fancy moves, it was real pretty, right? And then I was asked, I went to have a training session with a group of warriors, and they're like, Mike, let's see what you got out of those 15 years of karate. And the reality was, those warriors spent 10 seconds, and I was done in the sparring match. And then they said, Mike, here's your problem. You trained in an artificial environment. We're going to train you the way we actually fight in war. And I learned more in 10 days from these folks and was better in 10 days than I was in 20 years of traditional training. So the key is we integrate it in every class. We design architectures in class just like we do it. We deliver presentations in class just like the real thing. Students sell in class like the real thing. They lead projects. So everything we do is exactly the architect job. And by the way, everybody that's in Go Cloud Careers gets a title of Associate Cloud Architect once they've done some requirements, and they're doing an internship with us, so they have work experience when the employer leaves. So nobody leaves us without an actual cloud architect job experience that they can pop to the hiring manager and they can give references of the things they've done. So Mark, great question. Kevin, so good to see you. See you next week in class. Yes, this week was Thanksgiving, so it was a different kind of day. So if you've got any last minute questions, ask me now. Otherwise, I'll get back to work. But if you've got a question, I truly want to help you. So answer it. And while we say to that, I want to let you know, we currently have 40% off for Black Friday sale. Take advantage of that. The average cloud architect pay is over $800 per day, the average one. And guess what? Our course at 40% off is less than $1,500 and $750 for the non-live version. To the live version is less than 2 days pay for the average architect. So I don't know of anything other than job that pays what a cloud architect job does, unless you go to medical school or law school and take, $500,000 of debt like I had to do, those kind of things. So keep that in the back of your mind. Looks like we've got one last question. If you ask more, I'll answer it. Otherwise, I'll go back to work. What would you say the best thing about my career was as a cloud architect? Cloud Station, that's a great question. Well, I did have the unfortunate time of spending 6 months as an engineer before I got out of it and moved into an architect. And here's what I didn't like as an engineer. Mike, I need you to come in at 3 o'clock in the morning and go fix this. And in the end, I was treated like the help. The VPs, the directors, they all treated me like I was just no different than the person that would clean their house. And I didn't like that feeling. And then I became an architect. And everything changed. Instead of being the worker bee, coming in at 2 o'clock in the morning to update systems when they were offline, when they would least impact, now I was given a corporate credit card. Mike, go talk to this client in Dubai. Where's Dubai? It's over here. Okay. Spent a month in Dubai, designed an architecture, stayed in the nicest hotel I've ever seen in my life, ate the best food in the world, met some people, built a relationship, and came home. Mike, go deal with this bank, design an architecture for them. Go to the bank, meet with them, have sushi with them every day for lunch, take them out every day for dinners on the corporate credit card, get some good steak, drink some good scotch. Poof. Play golf with people, take them to the Super Bowl with box seats, those kind of things, because the companies do that to try and build relationship. It was like I got paid to do my hobby. I literally got paid to talk to people and have conversations and give guidance. That's it. That's all I ever do. And I wasn't have to dealing with systems that didn't work. I wasn't troubleshooting. I wasn't staring at code and computer screens all day long. Oh my God, it's going to kill me with a headache. I didn't have to do any of that. I got to help people. I got to meet people. I got to talk to people. And they paid me 3 times more than I did when I was an engineer to do it. I was able to retire at 34 years old. Being an architect bought me a house in Florida when I was living in New Jersey and another home in Greece. So I got paid to do what I loved. And Cloud Station, that's the key to me. So for me, I always think about long-term longevity and career. And, I read a lot. Most of my career, I read at least 3 books per week for about 20 years straight. And while I don't read fiction, I've always loved to listen to what the author Mark Twain used to say. And when Mark Twain said this, it hit me so hard. Mark Twain said, if you make your vacation, I don't know which country you're in, so you might think holiday, but if you make your holiday or vacation, your vocation or your job, you'll never work a day in your life. Now, in my youth, I practiced internal medicine. I was a nurse practitioner. I liked it, but I worked. In that 6 months as a senior engineer that I worked. When I became an architect, I got paid to talk to people. I got paid to meet people. Life was good. So I got paid more than I could ever figure out how to spend to do a job that I loved. And it didn't feel like work to me. So that's why I've been teaching people how to be architects. And the funny thing is, Cloud Station, when my people get hired and they come back and they want to pop in classes, they're like, oh my God, what Mike said is true. They said, we don't touch the tech. We go to dinner. We go to drink with our clients. We meet with them. We give presentations. And you want the funnier thing, Cloud Station? We're getting ready. We're already planning our new conference. And one of the people we trained, he was a nice young college student that got hired by AWS with no experience. He says, Mike and Chris, can I talk about soft skills? Because that's what I want to talk about, because the whole architecture career is about soft skills. At the last conference, we had Yvonne Tambo, who we trained. It was a college student working as a waiter, now a solution architect with AWS. We had Jermaine Houston. Prior to us, he was selling landscaping gear. And they're both talking about soft skills and leadership and all the communications in their job. And they loved it. So all my graduates become architects, and they tell me it's the best job they've ever had. And they tell me they can't even believe they got paid for this. So that's kind of why. That's why I love it. That's why I teach it. And that's why I recommend it to everybody. So if there's no other questions, reminder that we have a 40% off Black Friday sale coming right now. We also have a completely free guide on how to get your first cloud architect job, and even a free webinar on Monday to help you get your first cloud architect job. You'll come, we'll talk to you for about a half an hour, and guess what? We can have a face-to-face conversation on Zoom. I can give you a mini interview. I can ask you questions. Whatever the case is, you can ask me questions. We'll do anything we can to help you get your goals. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you Monday.